Is Bumblebee Jasper dangerous? Right, first of all, before we move on, let's clear up one of the most egregious mischaracterizations that is sold throughout the industry. The label of Bumblebee Jasper is just incorrect in every sense of the word. It's neither a Jasper nor a Bumblebee. However, the Bumblebee bit I will kind of give a pass to, because obviously that is a tip of the hat to the sort of aesthetic characteristics that are vaguely reminiscent of the colors of the Western Bumblebee. However, there is no jasper in there. It's not comprised of jasper because there's no quartz in there. And jasper, for context, is basically a micro or cryptocrystalline variety of silicon dioxide. So how it's accrued the term jasper is something which remains to be explained, because it's for the most part calcite. Now, this is something that comes almost exclusively from the island of Java in southern Indonesia, comes from volcanic regions, comes out of fumaroles in sort of volcanic regions in the southern area of Indonesia. As far as I know, that's the only place in the world where it comes from. Occasionally you find examples of people saying that they found it in Australia and the United States and places like that. But for the most part, if you've seen it, if you've bought it, if you've seen it being sold, it's come from the island of Java in Indonesia. Now, this is for the most part comprised of radial calcite, which is a calcium carbonate material, arsenic, realgar, pararealgar, not sulfur, believe it or not, contrary to how it's very often described, which I think is an assumption which comes from, one, the fact that it's yellow, as is sulfur, and two, it's a reasonable conclusion based on the fact that it's come from a volcanic region, volcano, sulfur. Not an unreasonable jump, but there's not actually any sulfur found inside Bumblebee Jasper. Now, the other material is sort of iron oxide, which is the black material. For the most part, it's sort of yellow, black, white Bumblebee, right? Now, is this material dangerous? Now, in most situations, the answer is no. However, it does need to be pointed out that things like pararealgar, which is an arsenic sulfide mineral, which arsenic being the sort of quintessential poison, when exposed to sunlight, can actually decay even if it's inside a resin or like an epoxy resin, which, believe it or not, can actually be dangerous. So, is Bumblebee Jasper, or calcite, which is how it should be referred to, dangerous? In some situations, believe it or not, it actually can be considered dangerous, because the way that pararealgar, which again is arsenic, reacts to things like sunlight can cause it to decay in a way that can actually cause hazard to your health. So this is something I would perhaps discourage wearing as jewelry or having in sort of massive form or powdered form anywhere around you for this exact reason. Is this video existing in order to create alarmism, and should you be conscious of the Bumblebee Jasper in your collection? For the most part, no, but exercise some level of caution around it, because it does behave in a certain way that has been proven, especially in the context of being exposed to natural sunlight, where it can decay, and this includes pieces of jewelry that have been covered in resin.